The darkness of space stretched forever. Among the stars, 200 human ships moved slowly through the empty void. They were not warships. They were home ships carrying the last survivors of Earth. Admiral Yang stood on the bridge of the Indomitable Hope, watching the stars pass by. He was an old man now, with gray hair and tired eyes. His daughter stood beside him, studying the navigation screens. They had been traveling for 70 years. 3 generations of humans had lived and died on these ships, never touching solid ground. Earth's sun had started to die. The scientists saw it coming, but too late. Humanity built these ships as fast as they could. Only 2 million people escaped. The rest stayed behind, watching the sky turn red as the fleet departed. Yang touched the small photograph in his pocket. His wife, his son, both dead now, buried in space, their bodies released to the stars when sickness took them. Only remained his last connection to the family he once had. Father said quietly, "We're picking up signals ahead, strong ones." Yang straightened. "What kind of signals?" "Military frequencies, scanning arrays. Someone owns this space." Engineer Wu Jin hurried over from his station. He was younger than, always moving fast, always thinking. "Admiral, those signals are powerful. Whoever built them has technology we've never seen." "Can we go around?" Yang asked. Wu Jin shook his head. "We're low on fuel. The colony ships need to land soon or people will start dying. This is the only habitable system within range." Yang looked at the main screen. A green and blue planet appeared there, beautiful and inviting. Water, forests, mountains, everything humanity needed. But someone else was already here. "Open a channel," he said. "All frequencies, let them know we come in peace." The communications officer worked her controls. She was quiet and careful, always listening, always watching. "Channel open, Admiral." Yang spoke clearly. "This is Admiral Yang of the human fleet. We are refugees seeking shelter. We mean no harm. We only wish to find a home." They waited, minutes passed, then the reply came. The voice was deep and cold. "Human fleet, this is Warlord Axe of the Empire. You have entered Imperial space without permission. This is a violation of galactic law." Yang glanced at, she looked worried. "Warlord Axe, we had no knowledge of your empire. We are simply looking for a place to live. We can settle on any uninhabited world you allow." "There are no uninhabited worlds," Axe replied. "All space belongs to the Empire. All resources belong to the Empire. You will surrender your ships immediately." "Surrender?" Yang felt his stomach drop. "We are not warriors. We are families, children. We just want to survive." "Survival is not guaranteed to the weak," Axe said. "You will submit to Imperial authority. Your people will serve the Empire. Your technology will be examined. Your ships will be absorbed into our fleet. This is the way of the galaxy." Yang looked around his bridge. Wu Jin's face was pale. Hands shook over her controls, stood perfectly still, but he could see the anger in her eyes. "And if we refuse?" Yang asked, though he already knew the answer. Axe laughed. It was an ugly sound. "Then you will be destroyed. No species refuses the Empire, not for 10,000 cycles. You have one rotation of your planet to decide. Choose wisely, humans." The channel went dead. The bridge was silent. Finally, Wu Jin spoke. "Admiral, our sensors are counting their ships, 50 warships. Each one is 3 times the size of our largest vessel. They have energy shields, plasma weapons. We have nothing that can fight that." "We're not fighters," added softly. "We're farmers, engineers, teachers. How can we fight an empire?" Yang walked to the viewport. In the distance he could see lights, the fleet waiting like predators. He thought about his wife, his son, all the people buried in space during their long journey. They died hoping their children would find a home, and now this. "Father said," she moved beside him, her voice low so only he could hear. "I've been watching their formations. They move in patterns, perfect patterns, like a dance they've practiced for centuries. What does that mean? It means they've never had to change. They've never faced anyone who didn't follow their rules. Yang looked at his daughter. She had her mother's sharp mind. You have an idea? Maybe. I need time to study their movements, and I need to talk to Wu Jin about our ships. Across the bridge, Wu Jin was already working. He pulled up designs, running calculations. Joined him, her fingers flying over the communication intercepts. Admiral said suddenly, I'm picking up their internal communications. They're not encrypted very well. They think no one can understand their language, but our computers are translating it. What are they saying? They're laughing at us. They think we're primitives. They're calling this the easiest conquest in a century. His voice grew hard. They're betting on how long we'll last. The highest guess is 10 minutes. Yang felt something cold settle in his chest. Not fear, something else. Something he hadn't felt since Earth died. Anger. Get me the captains, he said quietly. All of them, every ship in the fleet. Within an hour, 200 faces filled the communication screens. Captains and commanders, young and old, all looking to Yang for answers. He stood straight, meeting their eyes. The Empire has given us a choice. Surrender and become slaves or die. The screens erupted with voices, shouts, fear, anger. Yang raised his hand. Silence fell. There is a third option, he said. We fight. Someone laughed nervously. Fight. Admiral, with respect, we have cargo haulers, mining ships, colony pods, they have warships. Yes, Yang agreed. They have warships, built for fighting other warships, following rules we don't know, using tactics that worked for 10,000 years. He paused. But we have something they don't. What's that? Another captain asked. Desperation, creativity, and 70 years of survival in the worst conditions space can offer. Yang looked at each face. They think we're weak. They think we'll follow their rules. They're wrong. Stepped forward. We have 1 day. 1 day to turn our fleet into something they've never seen. It won't be pretty. It won't be honorable, but it might let us survive. Wu Jin added, every ship can be modified. Every tool can be a weapon. We've been surviving in space for 3 generations. We know things the Empire forgot. The captains looked at each other. Slowly, one by one, they nodded. What do you need? One asked. Everything, Yang said. Strip every ship. Use every resource. If we're going to die, we die fighting. And maybe, just maybe, we don't die at all. The screens went dark as the captains rushed to work. On the bridge of the Indomitable Hope, Yang looked at his small crew, his daughter, his engineer, his communications officer. 1 day, he said, make it count. In the darkness outside, the fleet waited, confident and patient. They had no idea what was coming. The human fleet found shelter in the system. It was a dead place, filled with the remains of an ancient star that had exploded long ago. Debris floated everywhere, creating clouds that confused sensors. Here, they could hide. Here, they could prepare. Admiral Yang stood in the conference room with his command staff. Wu Jin, Bo-Ra, and a young officer named Sang Ho. They looked at the star map showing the approaching Imperial Armada. 40 days, Yang said. 300 warships. How do we survive this? The room was quiet. Finally, Sang Ho spoke up. He was the youngest person there, barely 25, but his ideas were always different from everyone else. We don't survive it, Sang Ho said. Everyone turned to look at him. Explain, Yang said. Sang Ho stood and walked to the map. They expect us to run or hide. They expect us to defend ourselves desperately. What if we do the opposite? What opposite? Bo-Ra asked. We attack them. The room exploded with voices. Attack? Are you insane? We barely survived 50 ships. 300 will destroy us. Let him speak, Yang said quietly. Sang Ho nodded gratefully. They think we're prey, prey runs, prey hides. Predators don't expect prey to attack. That's our advantage, surprise. Lean forward, keep talking. We know where they're coming from, we know when they'll arrive. We can prepare the battlefield, choose our ground, make them fight on our terms, not theirs. Wu Jin frowned. Even with surprise, 300 ships is too many. We can't fight them head-on. Not head-on, Sang Ho agreed. We break them into pieces, divide them, confuse them, make them fight shadows. Spoke up. I might be able to help with that. I've been studying Imperial communications for weeks now. Their encryption is old, very old. I think I can break it. If we break their encryption, said slowly, we can hear everything they say, see everything they plan. More than that, continued, we could feed them false information, make them see things that aren't there. Yang looked at his team. Young faces, tired faces, determined faces. This plan, if we try it and fail, we all die. We're already dying, Bora said quietly. At least this way we die fighting. Then we do it, Yang decided. Operation Prometheus. We steal fire from the gods. The next 40 days were madness. Wu Jin and his engineering teams worked without rest. Every ship was modified, rebuilt, weaponized. Civilian transports became carriers for hundreds of small drones. Colony pods were filled with kinetic projectiles. Agricultural ships were converted to carry biological agents that could destroy life support systems. Nothing was wasted, nothing was sacred. Survival mattered more than comfort. Worked with a young genius named. He was brilliant with computers, seeing patterns others missed. Together, they attacked the Imperial encryption. It's quantum-based, explained, his fingers flying over the keyboard. Very sophisticated, but it's also 10,000 years old. They've never updated it because it never needed updating. Can you break it? Asked. Already did, 3 days ago. Now I'm learning to write in it, smiled. They're going to be very confused when their own computers start lying to them. Medical officer Bai treated the pilots training for high-G combat. Many were injured during training. Some died, but volunteers kept coming. Why do you keep trying? Bai asked one pilot after his third crash simulation. His body was covered in bruises. The pilot looked at her with fierce eyes. Because my children are on the colony ships. If I die so they can live, that's a good death. Bai had no answer for that. In the command center, and Sang Ho planned the battle. They studied the Imperial fleet composition, their likely formations, their tactical responses. They'll come in battle groups, said, pointing at the display. Probably 3 groups arranged in their traditional trident formation. Then we hit the center group first, Sang Ho suggested. Hard and fast, make them think that's our main attack. While the real attack comes from where? From the sun. Sang Ho zoomed in on the star. It's unstable, high radiation. They'll never expect us to hide there. Stared at him. We can't survive in a star's corona. We can if Wu Jin's heat shields work. We only need to survive for a few hours. Then we strike. It was crazy, it was dangerous, it might work. Bora took command of the drone ship project. Each converted freighter carried 500 small drones. They weren't sophisticated. They couldn't think or plan. They just flew forward until they hit something or were shot down. Quantity over quality, Bora explained to her crews. They have good targeting systems, but systems can be overwhelmed. We send 5,000 drones at them. Their computers will overheat trying to shoot them all down. Prepared the kinetic weapons. His teams had spent weeks accelerating chunks of metal using the asteroid belt's gravity. 50-ton projectiles, now traveling at incredible speeds, positioned throughout the system. It's like setting a trap, told his gunners. We've laid the bait, now we just need them to step into it. Pilot Wu trained the fighter squadrons. The new pilots were not as skilled as he was, but they were learning. Most importantly, they were fearless. Remember, Wu told them, we're smaller, we're faster. We can do things their pilots can't even imagine. Use that, be unpredictable. One young pilot raised her hand. "Commander, what if we fail?" Wu looked at her seriously. "Then we fail together, but we're going to make them remember us. The whole galaxy is going to learn what happens when you threaten humanity." On day 38 received a message. It was from inside Imperial space, encrypted heavily. When she decoded it, her hands started shaking. "Admiral," she called, "you need to see this." Yang came to her station. "What is it?" "It's from another species. They're under Imperial control, but they're watching us, watching what we did to Axe's fleet." Looked up. "Admiral, they're cheering for us. They say we're giving the galaxy hope." Yang read the message. It spoke of oppression, of species enslaved by the Empire for centuries. It spoke of dreams of freedom. 17 other species have sent similar messages, continued. All hidden, all secret, but they're all saying the same thing. If we win, they'll rise up. They'll fight for their freedom. "And if we lose?" Yang asked. "Then the Empire will crush them. They're betting everything on us." The weight of it settled on Yang's shoulders. This wasn't just about human survival anymore. The entire galaxy was watching. On day 40, the sensors detected the Imperial Armada entering the system. 300 warships, massive and terrible, led by Fleet Marshal. The human fleet was hidden in the star's corona, suffering through incredible heat, waiting for the perfect moment. His voice came over the communication channels. "Humans, we know you are here. We have brought 300 ships. You cannot hide. You cannot run. Surrender now and some of you may live as slaves. Fight and you all die. You have 1 hour." In the burning heat of the corona, Admiral Yang sat in his command chair. Around him, his crew waited, checked the tactical systems. Wu Jin monitored the heat shields, prepared the electronic warfare systems. His fingers hovered over his keyboard, ready to unleash chaos into Imperial communications. 1 hour, Yang said quietly. "Then we show them what humanity can do." He opened the fleet-wide channel. 200 ships, 2 million people all listening. "My friends," Yang said, 3 generations ago we left Earth. We have been traveling through darkness looking for light. The Empire wants to take that light from us. They want to make us slaves. They want to break our will." He paused. "They don't understand. We are not a civilization that kneels. We are survivors. We adapt. We overcome. Today we teach the galaxy a new lesson. Today we show them that humanity does not surrender." Across the fleet, people prepared. Pilots climbed into fighters. Gunners checked their weapons. Engineers made final adjustments. "For Earth," Yang said. "For humanity, for freedom." The hour passed. Fleet Marshal ordered her ships to search the system. They moved in perfect formation, the pride of the Empire. They never saw the humans coming. "All ships," Yang commanded, "attack." The human fleet burst from the sun like an explosion. 200 ships, their hulls glowing red from the heat, emerged from the corona where no sane commander would ever hide. Fleet Marshal watched in shock as her sensors lit up with targets. "Where did they come from?" she demanded. "The Star, Marshal," her tactical officer replied, his voice filled with disbelief. "They were hiding inside the Star." There was no time to think. The battle began. Captain Boraz's converted freighters came first. Each ship opened its cargo bays, releasing swarms of drones. 500 from each ship. 10,000 drones total, filling space like angry insects. They were simple machines. No intelligence, no fancy systems. Just thrusters and a single command: fly forward until you hit something. The fleet opened fire. Plasma beams cut through space, destroying dozens of drones. Then hundreds. Their targeting computers worked perfectly, calculating angles, predicting movements, firing with mechanical precision. But there were too many targets. "Sir, the targeting systems are overheating," an officer reported. "Compensate," ordered. "We're trying, but there are thousands of them." The drones were cheap. The drones were disposable. But they did their job. While the ships focused on the drone swarm, they weren't watching for the real threat. Commander gave the signal. Throughout the system, kinetic projectiles began moving. They had been positioned carefully over the past 40 days, accelerated by slingshot maneuvers around asteroids and moons. Chunks of iron and nickel, each weighing 50 tons, traveling at incredible speed. They hit the Imperial fleet like the hammer of an angry god. A battleship exploded, its hull punctured by metal traveling faster than thought. No warning, no defense, just sudden, violent destruction. Another ship died, then another. Kinetic weapons, someone shouted on the Imperial channel. They're using solid projectiles. Adjust shields, commanded. But the shields weren't designed for this. Energy shields stopped energy. They did nothing against solid matter moving at relativistic speeds. The engineers had never imagined anyone would use such primitive weapons. They were learning why primitives sometimes worked. 17 capital ships died in the first minute. 17 massive warships, each carrying thousands of crew, simply ceased to exist. The debris from the explosions added to the chaos, creating a cloud of wreckage that confused sensors even more. Watched her fleet's numbers drop on the tactical display. All ships regroup, form defensive positions. But regrouping required communication, and that's when it struck. From the New Dawn, activated her electronic warfare systems, had spent weeks learning the Imperial communication protocols. Now he used that knowledge like a weapon. False orders flooded the Imperial channels. Battle Group 7 fall back. All ships advance. Enemy contacts to your rear. The computers, trusting their ancient encryption, accepted the commands as legitimate. Chaos spread through the Imperial fleet. Ships moved in different directions, following conflicting orders. Formations collapsed. The organized armada became a confused mob. "What is happening?" screamed. "Who is giving these orders?" Her communications officer looked terrified. "Marshal, the orders are coming from inside our own network. Someone has broken our encryption." "That's impossible. That encryption is 10,000 years old, unbreakable." "Tell that to the humans," the officer whispered. Pilot Wu led his squadron of fighters into the chaos. They were tiny compared to the warships, like mosquitoes attacking elephants. But mosquitoes could kill if they bit the right places. "Target their engines," Wu commanded. "Make them unable to maneuver." His fighter accelerated to speeds that should have turned him into paste. The pressure suit kept him alive, barely. The gel compressed around his body, supporting his organs as he pulled 12 Gs in a turn. A cruiser tried to target him. The automated systems locked on, calculated his trajectory, prepared to fire. Wu inverted his fighter, dove underneath the cruiser, rolled sideways, and came up behind it. The targeting computer lost track, unable to predict such insane movements. Wu's missile struck the cruiser's engine array. The ship went dead in space, unable to move, unable to fight effectively. Across the battlefield, other pilots his tactics. The fleet was designed for orderly combat, for predictable enemies. Human pilots were neither orderly nor predictable. Captain Bora brought her second weapon into play. The Defiant Star, loaded with nuclear warheads, approached a battleship. The battleship saw her coming and fired. Bora jinked right, then left, flying through a pattern that seemed random but was carefully calculated. The plasma beams missed by meters. "Get closer," her co-pilot urged. 500 meters, 400. The battleship turned to bring more weapons to bear. Bora accelerated directly toward it, playing a game of chicken with a ship 50 times her size. "Now," she shouted. The Defiant Star ejected 6 nuclear warheads at point-blank range and then turned hard, engines screaming. The nukes detonated simultaneously. The shields contained the blast, just like they were designed to do. All that energy, trapped inside the shield bubble, had nowhere to go except into the ship itself. The battleship tore itself apart from contained explosions. Nuclear weapons, a officer reported too. They're using nuclear weapons. Those haven't been used in warfare for 3,000 years. The humans apparently didn't get that message, Marshal. The battle raged on. The human fleet had the advantage of surprise, but the Imperial fleet had numbers and firepower. Human ships died too. The colony ship Bright Future took a direct hit from 3 plasma lances simultaneously. It exploded in a ball of fire, killing 5,000 people in seconds. The transport New Hope was caught in a crossfire and cut in half. The mining ship Steadfast was rammed by a damaged destroyer, both ships dying together. But for every human ship that fell, 3 ships died. Admiral Yang watched the battle from the indomitable Hope's bridge. His ship, the colony vessel that had carried humanity for 70 years, had one last purpose to serve. He said quietly, "Take command of the fleet." His daughter turned to him, her face pale. "Father, what are you doing?" "What I must." Yang stood and looked at his crew. "Everyone off this ship, all escape pods now." "Sorry." "That's in order." Wu Jin understood first. His face went white. "Admiral, no, we can find another way." "There is no other way." Yang looked at the main screen, where the Imperial flagship sat in the center of the enemy formation. That ship is their command vessel. Kill it, and their fleet loses coordination. "But—" "Go, all of you, that's my final order." Grabbed her father's arm. "I won't leave you." Yang touched her face gently. "You must. You're the future. I'm just an old man who's already lived too long." He smiled. "Tell them what we did here. Tell them humanity doesn't kneel." Security guards gently but firmly pulled toward the escape pods. She fought them, screaming, "Father, father, please." Yang watched his daughter disappear through the doorway. Then he sealed the bridge. He sat in his command chair and activated the ship's engines. Full power. The indomitable Hope began to accelerate. On the Imperial flagship, alarms blared. "Marshal, one of the human colony ships is approaching at high speed." Looked at her screen. The massive ship was heading directly toward her. "Destroy it." The flagship's weapons fired. Plasma beams struck the indomitable Hope. The hull burned. Sections exploded, but the ship kept coming, accelerating faster and faster. Yang felt the heat as his bridge caught fire. He felt the impacts as weapons tore through his ship. He didn't care. His hands stayed on the controls, keeping the ship on course. "For Earth," he whispered, for humanity." The indomitable Hope struck the Imperial flagship at 0.5 light speed. The kinetic energy of a kilometer-long ship traveling at half the speed of light was beyond comprehension. The flagship didn't just explode. It ceased to exist, converted to plasma and energy. The shockwave spread outward, destroying 40 nearby vessels instantly. In an escape pod, watched her father die. She watched the explosion that lit up space like a new star. She watched the center of the Imperial formation simply vanish. She wept, and she swore that his sacrifice would not be in vain. With their flagship destroyed and their communications disrupted, the fleet fell into complete disorder. Individual ships fought bravely, but without coordination, without leadership. The human fleet pressed their advantage. Drones and kinetic weapons and nuclear warheads and crazy fighter pilots. Everything thrown at an enemy that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. When it finally ended, the battlefield was silent. Of the 300 warships, only 17 survived. They ran, jumping to hyperspace, carrying news of their defeat. The human fleet had lost 64 ships, 30,000 people dead, but they had survived. They had won. On the new dawn, Admiral stood on the bridge, looking at the wreckage floating in space. Somewhere in that debris was her father's ship, his final sacrifice. "Admiral," said softly, "we're receiving transmissions, hundreds of them from all over the galaxy." What do they say? They're celebrating species we've never heard of watching what we did. They're saying we gave them hope. His voice broke. They're calling us heroes. Looked at her crew. Wu Jin with burns on his hands, Wu with a broken arm, Bora with exhaustion in her eyes, all of them survivors, all of them warriors now. We're not heroes, said quietly. We're just people who refuse to die. But the galaxy had seen what happened and the galaxy would remember. The High Council met in their ancient chamber. For 10,000 years they had ruled the galaxy from this room. For 10,000 years no one had dared challenge them. Now they watched footage of their third armada's destruction, and they knew the galaxy had changed. 300 ships, Council Elder said quietly. 300 warships destroyed by refugee civilians. They are not civilians, Commander said. She had survived the battle, one of the few who had. They are something else, something we have never faced. What are they? Another elder asked. Chose her words carefully. They are survivors. They don't fight for glory or honor. They fight because they must. Every human knows they could die at any moment, so they fight without holding back. They use weapons we abandoned as primitive. They employ tactics we consider dishonorable, and they win because we are not prepared for such enemies. Then we send more ships, bigger fleets. We cannot let this stand. No, said firmly. The room went silent. No one refused the council. No, we cannot send more fleets. Explain. Activated a holographic display. It showed star systems across the galaxy lighting up. Since the battle of 17 species have begun rebelling against imperial rule, they saw what the humans did and they found courage. If we send our dreadnought fleets against humanity, these rebellions will spread. We could face a galaxy-wide uprising. The council members looked at each other, fear in their ancient eyes. And there is more, continued. The humans have broken our encryption. They accessed our entire communication network during the battle. They likely still have access. Every tactical plan, every ship movement, every secret we have, they can see it all. That is impossible. I have the proof, showed them's infiltration logs. They are more technologically advanced than we believed. Not in every area, but in the areas that matter for warfare, they are ahead of us. They adapt faster. They think differently. Council Elder stood slowly. What do you suggest? We negotiate. We offer them peace. We give them what they want, a home, sovereignty, safety. In return, they stop fighting us. The Empire does not negotiate with. The Empire will fall if we don't, his voice echoed through the chamber. I have served the Empire my entire life. I have conquered 17 species. I know what victory looks like. This is not victory. This is survival. We must choose, adapt or die. The silence stretched long, finally nodded. Contact the humans, arrange a meeting. On the new dawn, Admiral sat in her father's old command chair. It felt wrong, too big, too heavy with responsibility. But someone had to lead, and the fleet had chosen her. Admiral called. We're receiving a transmission from the High Council. They want to negotiate. Looked at Wu Jin, he shrugged. Could be a trap. Or it could be real, said. Either way, we have to take the meeting. She stood. Prepare a diplomatic shuttle, small crew, I'll go. You, Bora said. Admiral, if this is a trap, they'll kill you. Then they kill me, but if this is genuine, we could end the war before more people die. Looked around the bridge. My father gave his life for this fleet. I won't throw that away by being too afraid to try for peace. 3 days later, a small shuttle approached the Imperial. Sat inside with Diplomat Bin, a woman who had taught languages on the colony ships and now found herself negotiating with an empire. What do we ask for? Bin whispered. Everything, replied. We ask for everything. The Imperial Palace was massive, built from materials that sparkled like crystals. Guards escorted and Bin through corridors that had seen emperors rise and fall. They entered the council chamber. Had expected to feel small. Instead, she stood tall, meeting the elder's eyes. "Admiral, Council Elder said, you are brave to come here." "Bravery or desperation look very similar," replied. A ghost of a smile crossed face. "Indeed, let us speak plainly. Your fleet destroyed our third armada. This is an embarrassment the Empire cannot ignore. However, Commander has convinced us that continued warfare serves neither of our peoples." "We don't want war," said. "We never did, we just want a home." "And you shall have one," activated a star map. "We offer you 3 systems on the frontier, habitable worlds uninhabited. You may settle there with full sovereignty. The Empire will recognize your independence." Studied the systems. They were good worlds, but that's not enough. The chamber went cold. "You dare." "I dare because I must," interrupted. "You offer us a home and we appreciate that, but what about the other species under your rule? The ones who cheered when we fought you? What about them?" "They are not your concern." "They are now," pulled out a data pad. "We've been in contact with 17 species who want freedom. They don't want to fight you. They just want to live their own lives. If you give us a home but leave them enslaved, how long before we're at war again?" Ben stepped forward. "We propose the creation of a galactic assembly, a place where all species can meet, discuss problems, resolve disputes peacefully. The Empire can still be powerful, but it doesn't have to be the only power. You ask us to surrender our authority. I ask you to share it," said. "The galaxy is changing. You can change with it and remain strong, or you can resist and eventually fall. We've proven that empires can be defeated." Looked at, the commander nodded slightly. "Very well," said. "We will establish this assembly, but there must be conditions." They negotiated for hours. The treaty took shape, named after the battle that changed everything. 3 systems for humanity, the creation of the Galactic Assembly, gradual independence for imperial subjects who wanted it, mutual defense agreements, trade partnerships. When returned to the New Dawn, her crew was waiting anxiously. "We have a home," she announced. 3 systems, the treaty is signed." The bridge erupted in cheers. People cried. Some collapsed from relief. 70 years of wandering was over. Humanity had a home. Wujin pulled up images of the primary world, green and blue with vast oceans and forests. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "What should we call it?" someone asked. Thought of her father, of his sacrifice, of his dream. Nova Terra, New Earth, a fresh start. The human fleet traveled to their new home over the next weeks. When they arrived, people wept at the sight of the planet hanging in space. Children who had never walked on solid ground would finally feel dirt beneath their feet. The colony ships landed one by one. When stepped onto Nova Terra's surface for the first time, she knelt and touched the grass. Real grass, growing in real soil under a real sun. Around her, people celebrated. They planted flags. They built shelters. They began the work of creating a new civilization. But walked away from the celebration to a quiet hill. There she placed a marker. It was simple, just a stone with words carved into it. "Admiral Yang, father, leader, hero. He gave everything so we could have this." She stood there as the sun set, painting the sky in colors Earth had never shown. "We made it, father," she whispered. "We're home." Weeks later, the first session of the Galactic Assembly convened. Representatives from dozens of species gathered in a neutral station. Humans, and others who had lived under imperial rule. Bin represented humanity. She stood before the assembly and spoke. "We are all here because we chose change over stagnation. The galaxy is vast enough for all of us. We don't need to be enemies. We can be partners, friends, allies." The representative, surprisingly, was, "The Empire made mistakes. We believed our way was the only way. The humans taught us otherwise. We have much to learn." The assembly voted on its first resolution, a mutual defense pact. Any species attacked by an outside force would receive aid from the others. It was a small step, but it was a beginning. On Nova Terra, life continued. Cities grew. Farms spread across the plains. Children played in parks, not knowing what it was like to live on a ship. They were the first generation born to peace. Walked through the growing capital city one day when found her. "Admiral, you need to see this." "What is it?" "Long-range sensors, deep space. There are ships out there, beyond Imperial territory, ships that don't match any known configuration." Followed to the command center, Young was analyzing the data. "They're big," he said, "bigger than anything we've seen, and they're coming this way." Studied the sensor readings. Unknown ships, unknown intentions, a new threat or a new opportunity she couldn't tell yet. But she looked around the command center at her team. Wu Jin designing new ships, Wu training new pilots, Bora preparing defensive systems, and monitoring communications. All of them veterans of the war, all of them ready for whatever came next. "Keep watching those ships," ordered. "Run full analysis. I want to know everything about them." She walked to the window and looked out at Nova Terra. Humanity had found a home. They had made allies. They had proven themselves to the galaxy. Whatever came next, they would face it the same way they faced the Empire, with courage, creativity, and an absolute refusal to surrender. A message appeared on all frequencies, broadcast across the galaxy. It was simple, clear, and carried the weight of human determination. "To all civilizations, known and unknown, humanity stands here on the world we call Nova Terra. We have traveled far, fought hard, and sacrificed much to be here. We seek peace, but we are prepared for war. We offer friendship, but we will not accept tyranny. We are survivors. We are adapters. We are humanity. Remember the Third Armada. Remember the battle of, and if you come in peace, you will find friends. If you come in war, you will find something far more dangerous. A species that has learned to turn desperation into victory, civilians into warriors, and impossible odds into triumph. Choose wisely." The message echoed across space, reaching civilizations humanity had never heard of, touching species who had never imagined such fierce determination. The galaxy had changed. Humanity was no longer a curiosity or a victim. They were a force, a power, a people who had earned their place among the stars through blood and fire and unwavering will. And their story was just beginning.